in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey. Davante Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Davante Lewis, the Louisiana Budget Project. And I'm not going to belabor the point because I think we know the vote. We know why we're here. This week, at the beginning of the week, I spent a lot of time in Memphis. And I was at the Civil Rights Museum just about 2 days ago. And just as you were entering the floor, I was walking through an exhibit. And I got right in front of a picture. And it was Bull Connor who said, "Damn the law. We make our own law down here." And that's exactly what I saw in my ear, in my headphones, when you gavelled it in the House floor. Basically saying, we're not going to comply. We make our own law in Louisiana. And what we are here to do today is simply do what is fair and just and right. Representative Johnson, I heard you talk a lot about what offended you in Rapides, Paris. And I'm going to tell you a story about what has offended me in my life. Is as I've studied and done everything right as everyone's told and got an education, I've realized there's not a single right as a black person I had that a court didn't have to give to me. A court had to free me from being a slave. A court had to free me and said, oh, you can be separate but equal, and then had to undo that. A court had to grant fair housing. A court had to desegregate schools. And now a court is having to say you should be seen in redistricting because you are 1/3 of the population and you should be represented correctly. That's why we are upset. Because nothing has been equal for us. Nothing has ever been right for us. It's always been, we're resisted until the court tells me I got to give it to you. I'll hold on to it as long as I got. Because I don't have to give it to you until somebody else says it. That is the challenge we are faced with. When we think about this veto override, this governor's been governor 7.5 years. A lot of bills he's vetoed. A lot of bills most of this body didn't like that he vetoed. But there's only been one that was overturned. And that was one that specifically had to deal with race. Because that's what the governor said when he vetoed this bill. We found the votes to override the governor, not on trans issues, not on gun rights, not on budgetary policy, but on giving black people in Louisiana a fair and just representation. That's when we decided to stand up to the governor and be an equal branch of government, as it was said on the House floor. And then after you did it, you cheered, you clapped, you laughed, you high-fived each other. I said right there. And I thought about that 139-year history I told you a few months ago. I thought about my great-great-grandmother who was a slave and got freed. I thought about my great-grandmother who grew up under Jim Crow, my grandmother who grew up in segregated Lake Charles, went to First Ward colored school. Thought about my mom, who I said was 5 years old before Calcasieu Parish desegregated itself. And in those cheers, I saw the same things they talked about. This is what we're here for, and we can be very clear about it. We don't have to do the same violence of the 60s to still be doing it. Coretta Scott King said something very empowering, that we need to talk about policy violence and how we use policy as violence. You may not have to sick a dog on me or spray me with a water hose or have the National Guard with a Confederate flag on their helmet beat me, because you can do it through policy. You can do it through policy. It doesn't take a white sheet, because it can be a white tie, a blue tie, a red tie. And so we have a choice today. I saw the speaker tweet about vote your conscience. And if your conscience doesn't allow you to see everyone equally and deserve fair representation, then that's your conscience. But if you believe in the tenets that we talk about we are brothers and sisters, we're all children under God, then your conscience should call you to do what is right and what is fair and what is just. And that is just to see us. Just to see us. That's what we're asking for. We're not telling you go pick a candidate. We're saying see us and value us the same way that you value every other community of interest, every other item. And so with that, Mr. Vice Chair, that is why I support HB1, and that's what I'm calling on you to do. Don't make the courts do it. Finally say to Black Louisianians, we will, as a body, value you because we want to, not because a court demanded us to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.